Um, I'm curious. So you started because you had to. The power of broke. You've gained some traction. You have some success. How do you stay hungry?
Mm. Yeah, that is something I think that people don't talk a lot about, right? Like, in full disclosure, I did my Anything for Money tour that first year, and then I opened up an HR business, and I had an HR degree, no experience, but nobody asked. And so, and I made a lot of money, but I didn't love doing the work. And so, around that time, by then my third kid was born, and he had stopped nursing. So I don't know. I guess this would have been around 2004, 2005. And I just decided that like I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to do less copywriting for other people. I wanted to be a coach, and I shut down my HR business, like to put my financial back against the wall. I don't ever recommend that. And I feel a little silly that I did it. Like, there's so many other options I could have taken. But I knew that if my back was against the wall, I'd somehow make this other idea work financially. And I did, right? But I do regret I could have like had other women running that business, and it could have been, something
Mm.
super cool. But yeah, how do you stay hungry? And, part of it really starts to be about legacy and impact and influence. So for me, I'm not afraid to die, but I don't want to die like with a bunch of unused potential. I want to like strain my potential until it cries for mercy. That drives me. I want to see how far I can take this, right? This little old movement that began in Chesapeake, Virginia. I want to see how far it can go. I want to see what main stages I can get on. I just want to see how far I can take it. And so for now, I guess it's more about like just a little bit of responsibility to the potential that I know that I have, and a curiosity about like how far I can take it, right? It's already, Women Who Wow has already exceeded my expectations. And I just get excited about just seeing it go further. But really, what I had to shift. That was a deliberate shift that I made because I got to a place where I was kind of coasting because money was good. Money was coming in. And so just like, I mean, I did that more, I guess, from a global perspective, like where it lasted a while. But entrepreneurs deal with this all the time. And that's why they have feast or famine, right? Like they'll hustle to get the bills paid. Then they start serving their clients and they're not marketing and selling and showing up anymore, right? So I think it's a very common problem. And part of it is discipline to make sure that you are rounding out the edges of just your core economic engine of your business. And then the other part is, figuring out something that you are committed to, regardless of money.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing on so many different facets of from the fitness standpoint.
Yep.
I tell everybody sign up for a race because when you have a race on the books, then you're going to train for it. And then so often, as soon as that race comes and goes, then people are like, I'm going to take a little bit of time off. And
Yep.
next thing you know, so it's just always having that thing. And so many businesses live and die based on how do you stay hungry. So I appreciate you sharing your take on that.
I'm trying to find. Okay, I found it. I've been going to the gym a lot recently, and the actual physical gym. And obviously, New Year's comes around, and a lot of people go to the gym, and or a lot of new people go to the gym and all that kind of stuff. And so you're trying to create this new habit and all this. And so I I feel like when we think about kind of fitness and health and things like that, we don't think of the word addiction in a positive way towards it. But I feel like you almost have to slightly be addicted towards your health to be healthy.
Sure.
And at probably like 5:30 in the morning, I wrote this tweet, but this is what it says: from January 4th, which is probably the second day that people were back at the gym. The people in the gym the people in the gym look the desired way because they are consistent, committed, and obsessed.
Yep.
You could say that same sentence from a business perspective. The people, in that business, have that desired business are consistent, committed, and obsessed.
100%. I actually wrote down obsession right here while you were talking
Yeah.
because It is something like you need something that drives you, right? And another principle with Women Who Wow is I teach women how to make the marketing engine of their business, how to build it around what they love to do anyway, right? So like I'm a writer. I would write if I made no money, if I made $1 million or $5 million, right? It's just like I write because I can't not write.
Right.
And so I learn, I'm like, you know what, regardless of what's popular, regardless of whether video is this or audio is this or whatever, like the marketing engine of my business is my writing. And I designed just the same way you would design an engine, maybe like you can design like a car engine to run on like a battery or chicken fat, like whatever you want it to run on, right? You can design the engine to consume the fuel that you prefer it to consume. And so when you do that, when you build your business around things that you are obsessed with, then you know what? Consistency is no longer a problem. Passion is no longer a problem. You're not going to have the feast or famine because your activities are so freaking consistent. And you're right. Like if you look at anybody who has something that you want, whether it's a body or a bank account or a relationship or anything else, right? If you look at what they do, right, there's some congruency there. There's some consistency there. But a lot of it is they have built it around something they love to do, right? They love it. And so it gets done.
I'm curious, with all of the different meetups that you've had and groups, can you share with us some of the stereotypes that are out there, whether it's a stereotype of this region, stereotypes against men in business? I mean, I would love to hear some of these things so that one, that we're aware and they can be fixed, or how do we change some of these stereotypes that are out there? I want to laugh at myself, and I'm curious what you hear.
It's funny because I think that I kind of have non-regional diction, right? Like I think that I don't really particularly have a, very Southern accent or what have you. And I've later, learned the more I speak, the more I in different areas of the country, the more I realize I absolutely do have a Southern accent. I'll never forget one time I was in Washington State speaking, and I was telling a story. It was an analogy, and it was where I had hit this raccoon, right? Growing up in the country roads, of Southern Virginia. And my thought was like, if the raccoon had just like stayed on its course, right? If he could just run across the road, it wouldn't make me hit him. But because he stopped, I hit him. And I'll never forget like the room was like silent, like, and so I remember thinking, oh my God, like they really love their raccoons around here. They were so appalled by my little Southern analogy. So there's definitely, I think, some stereotypes about us and where we come from, right? And so I kind of have some fun with that. But I also,
so that's a true story. You did kill the raccoon.
I did. But you know what? I grew up driving around here.
All right.
You hit, you're going to hit the small animal because you're going to live. But, if it's a big animal, like a cow or a deer, like you try to avoid it. Right. So anyway, I was following the rules that I was taught.
Oh my God. People are like, where does she live?
Galahad Road is where I grew up and learned to drive. So, what's funny is that the stereotypes that I run into most are about women entrepreneurs, right? Like that we are desperate to join these, good old boys clubs. We're not. There's stereotypes that we all have, like, we're always trying to look more powerful, right? And there's, it's like all these things that just don't resonate with, my members and I. Like, we're killing it. We're at the helm of our industries, a lot of us, and we have zero attention being paid to whether or not people think we're powerful, or whether or not that we're in this club. Like, we are women of a certain age. I don't want to be anywhere that I'm not welcome and invited, right? Like, so there's lots of stereotypes about women entrepreneurs that I feel like are just kind of silly. And there's an organization that continues to come to me like, how can we get more how can we get more female members? How can we get more female members? And it's always the men asking. And I'm like, I finally said, listen, I've met with 3 of you guys, like, send me a woman and I'll talk to her about how to get, it's like the women aren't clamoring to be with you because you're feeling it's a little bit patronizing as you try to, get more women members. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, kind of like it's just a check off the box to say that you did it to try and do it instead of actually actively tried to do it. Yeah, I've been so I used to go to a lot of those meetings where people are like, oh, this is diverse. And I'm like, in what way are we discussing diverse as a white male, right? Who's obviously clearly part of the majority in the meetings I'm talking about. But I'm like, yo, don't use the word diverse if it's not like.
And there's a ton of ways to be diverse though, right? Like diverse thinking, diverse in your thinking, diverse in your industries, diverse, like, in obvious, like, the demographic, right? And I'll be honest with you, I'm very proud of how diverse Women Who Wow is. We are probably one of the most diverse organizations, and one of the longest standing organizations for women. And I'm so proud of that fact. But I'll tell you what I never did. I never went after a certain demographic. I never tried to do something like reduce the fee for a certain demographic. Why? Because badass women are insulted by that, right? They're insulted by that. And so we're very diverse just because we treat everybody the same. And it was never, it is a source of pride, but it was never something that I went after. I just treat everyone the same.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel I'm exactly the same way. And it just seems that how do we change things? How do we improve the region? It always seems to come up, but it's always a lot of times it's the same people in the same meetings, and it's just the definition of insanity because we keep on doing the same thing over and over again. And I was just curious your take, because you're like me and Zach, we're out there on the ground level talking to people and hearing what people are saying. And it's almost like some people don't want to hear the truth, so they don't ask the people that have the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually have someone I want to introduce you guys to, who was in the area recently and doing some diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And she's been beating this drum for 20 years. And one of the things that I feel like right now is there's a lot of lip service being done regarding diversity. But the core principles that need to be at play, right? Which is, making sure that there are, that people are safe being their true selves. The core principles of making sure that you've got a culture that embraces not just diversity, in terms of like what can be checked off in a on a form for the government, but diversity of thinking and diversity of culture. And anyway, so that she would be really good at that. I feel like, for me, I just want to treat all people the same. And I want to make sure that people know that when they come to Women Who Wow, that they're going to be, welcome and embraced. And to my knowledge, that's how they feel.
Who's been directly involved within the startup community for almost a decade, I want to talk to you about a serious pain point. Spending a ton of time trying to understand the business landscape in the 757. That's time that should be focused on growing the business. At StartWheel, we're here to help you by compiling all of the news you need to know about in one place. Now there's no need to search multiple websites. Just head to startwheel.org and see for yourself. That's startwheel.org.